out, and go. Hey, folks. I don't know what else to say. Hey, folks, how we doing? Andy Kimball here. This is the Andy and Amanda Love Show, live from the USA and the United Kingdom. We've got Amanda over there who's feeling better than she was. She's recovering from her reactions from the corona. Not from the
vaccine.
Corona, from the that's a beer. Yeah, she got a Modelo shot to protect her from the corona. Yeah, from her COVID vaccine. I'll get it straight. You know, I'm getting there. And you're feeling better now, right, babes? You're feeling better now?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, I expected all of this. You know, I didn't expect me to have those symptoms, but I expected it was a possibility. You know, we all know about it, like the painful arm. I had the very painful arm, couldn't raise my arm or anything like that, and
wow,
was sneezing and had a temperature and a really banging headache.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, it wasn't pleasant, but you know, it is what it is, and I was happy enough in myself because I knew it was just, you know, a reaction from having the vaccine, and that I'd be back on my feet in no time. And they did say if it lasts more than a week, go see a doctor. And you know, I've been improving yesterday and more so today, so I'm good.
Good. How's the arm feel? How's the arm? Is the arm better?
Oh, the arm is so much better. You know, I can touch it. There's no pain. You know, there's nothing there now. It's just just my normal arm again.
Oh, good. Which vaccine did you get?
I had the Pfizer jab.
I'll be darned. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you know, I didn't hear a lot about the Pfizer and the side effects and stuff, but everybody was saying to me, oh, the AstraZeneca is the one that causes a lot of issues with having the side effects.
That's what I heard.
And yeah, so I just thought, you know, well, maybe the Pfizer one's going to be okay. And, you know, I was fine that day. Later that night, I started to feel, you know, my head was getting hot, and I started to cough a little, and I thought, oh, okay, what's going on here then?
Wow.
And, so just progressively over the next few days got worse, and 2 days ago, the headache was the worst. It felt like a migraine almost.
Ooh.
And, so then after that, it's just, you know, so much better. So I reached that peak, and now I'm back on my feet.
Well, I'm glad, and you sound good. You sound great.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're feeling better, and you got round one done. I guess 3 weeks you get round two. Is that right? The way it is, I think 3 weeks you get round two.
I think they you know, on average they were saying it's 11 to 12 weeks normally here. I think for 50s and over they've reduced the gap to 8 weeks. I don't know if they're going to reduce it for everyone.
Wow.
Or what the situation is right now. But I think that they probably won't, because the situation with the Indian variant, they seem more satisfied with the fact that vaccines actually work against it. So I don't think there's going to be a panic with, oh yeah, get it in a few weeks or whatever. So they'll have me waiting.
I'll be darned. Yeah, I had the, what was the other, I'm going to say Modelo again, the Moderna one. I had Moderna. And it was a 3-week deal between doses, you know. But I gotta say, I had no reaction whatsoever. I mean, none.
That's amazing.
Zero.
Yeah.
A little bit of a sore arm, not even that much of one. A little bit of a sore arm, and that was it. I mean, nothing. And you know, I was told that you know, like you got your reaction, you know, and it could be headaches and muscle aches and whatever, and that's good.
Yeah.
It'll last a day or so and it goes away. But if you get that, that's a good thing, because it means it's working. Well, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's not working? You know, I'm like, whoa, you know.
Oh, bless you.
Literally no reaction whatsoever. None.
It did kind of knock it out of me a little. I mean, I noticed like yesterday, I went to the little store not far from my home. I thought, you know, I'd get some water, bottled water, and it on the way back, I was completely wiped out. Now, usually I can do a 2 or 3 mile walk, no problem. I come back and I'm still fit and think, yeah, I could do it all over again. But that little journey to the shop and back was just, wow, it really wiped me out. I thought, okay, so this thing actually took hold of me more than I realized, because at that point, I've been in bed most of the time with this.
Jeez.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I'm really sorry to hear that, but I'm not sorry to hear it, because it means you're being protected from the COVID-19 virus, and that's all good. So I'm sorry to hear that you weren't feeling well from it, but I'm not sorry that you.
I know.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Thank you, sweetie. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
You bet. Missed you Monday. I know, and
I
I did a show that nobody heard but me.
Oh.
I thought I was on broadcasting here on Blog Talk and doing our podcast and doing the whole show, and got your message that you weren't feeling well because of the vaccine, and I went on my lonesome and when I went to go, and I thought it was a good show. I got to tell you, I thought I did a good job being solo. I really did. I thought it was because there's news to cover for the weekend, and went over a lot of things and so forth, and then when went to download the show to produce the podcast of the recorded show, I didn't hear me at all. The only thing I heard was an occasional audio clip. And
wow.
I'm like, where am I? Where am I? Nowhere. Just silence. Silence. And an audio clip. And more silence. And an audio clip. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh, and I felt so good because I did sit on Amanda said you couldn't make it. I said, oh my God, I got to do this by myself again. And I was, oh geez, and I did. I thought, God darn, I did. And so I was proud of myself. I was like, man, good for you, dude.
I have faith in you always.
I was like, it was good, and so then as I'm listening to the audio and I didn't hear me, I looked at my recording studio gear and interfaces and all that stuff that I have here and realized that the phantom power that powers the microphone that we use here was not on, and therefore the microphone was not on, and therefore that whole show that I did by myself, nobody heard it but me.
Oh, darling.
So I even deleted it from our blog talk archive, and I was like, man. Oh, and I didn't feel like I could have easily just done another one, whatever. And I thought, not gonna do it again. So that was that. So Monday went blank, and didn't Friday go blank too because I did the commercial, right? I talked about that on Monday. I talked about it to myself.
That was a nice conversation.
That was wonderful. Yes, it was just wonderful. I got to really, introduce myself to me. It was great. So, but Friday we had no show either because I was doing a TV commercial for Amazon, and that was an adventure afterwards. So
how did that go, darling?
Oh my God. It was long, and I had a 7:30 a.m. show on Thursday, 8:15 wrap on Thursday. Some friends had just driven across the country on a 35-day, trip, round trip across the country, see all the sites and so forth.
Wow.
And they made it to L.A., and I went to go meet them, and then they came back to the house. This is Thursday. I drove from set, which is about an hour north of my house, and I drove from set right to the restaurant where those guys were all hanging out, and came back from my house. This is about 11:30 or so, and or maybe 10:30, 11, somewhere around there, and had some wine at my place to get my email from production that said, Andy, your call time is at 4:30 a.m. and which means an 8 hour time, 8 hours between wrap and call time, leaving 8:15 at night and being back on set an hour north of me at 4:30 in the morning the next day, and here I am with friends drinking wine that night. So I had 2 hours sleep that next day.
Oh my goodness.
We were, without giving too many details about the commercial, but it's Napoleon era. We're all dressed up in a camp in Napoleon battle type field, but it's kind of a comedy thing. But we were all in complete uniform with the helmets and the jackets and the whole. When it came on set, it was incredible because you would think that you were being transformed back into a Napoleon troop with horses and carriages and campfires, which are fed by propane. Oh, it was amazing. The campfires they have on set. See, I'm learning all this. The more acting type things I do. The campfires aren't real fires. They're propane fed, and they bury the propane tubes, the pipes that they use. Excuse me. They bury the pipes in the dirt, so you can't see them.
Wow.
Yeah. You ever wonder? I don't know. It's not too often that whenever you do, you see a Western or whatever it is when they have all the campfires going. That they're actually propane, and that's how they keep them going. You don't have to worry about them going out or the logs burning down, whatever. How they keep those fires going without ever touching them.
Wow.
I guess they're all probably. Cool. Yeah, they're kind of cool. And on the horses were gorgeous. Oh my God, so I was working around horses for 2 days, 2 long days, and the second day we did we had to do what was called plating. And what plating is when you take a small group of people and you move them. You have, let's say, a wide open field. And somehow you've got to make that wide open field look like there's 1,000 people there. Because a huge field, let's say there's a stage, a huge, 1,000. So how do you do it? You take that small group of people and you map it out where they are, and you move them from one location to the next, and the talent or whatever's going on in the main scene keeps repeating themselves over and over and over again. So the group of people continues to move across the field maybe 25 or 30 times. So when they put it all together in production, they splice all those shots of the groups of people to fill up the entire field, and it looks like there's 1,000 people there.
Wow.
It's not. It's the same group of people. So there we are. Napoleon's up on stage telling jokes in French. Yes. and we are moving from one spot in the heat with all this on the helmets, shoes that are uncomfortable as hell, in the heat, moving, one spot, then another spot, then another spot. Okay, one more time. We end up doing 3 more times. One more, then another time. And sometimes, we had to have different reactions to different jokes. And then sometimes they just want our reactions without the actor who played Napoleon doing the jokes. But it was a long day. And there was no dialogue from us. There was no lines, no anything. All we were, the whole 2 days, we were just pretty much in the scene. I guess what they're going to do is have voiceover on the commercial or print or whatever they do, but there was really no actors talking most of the time, except Napoleon the second day when he's telling jokes in French, which got pretty boring pretty quick, the same joke over and over again in French, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, so welcome to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to Hollywood. That was, but I must say this, the paycheck is really good. Yeah, good pay.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you know what's really cool, Andy, is that one of my ancestors fought in the battle with Napoleon.
Really?
Yes.
One of your ancestor was Napoleon?
I wish. No.
No.
No. One of my ancestors fought with him. Supposedly in one of the battles, it was traced right back to that. I was like, wow, that's incredible.
That is incredible. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But so what the military garb, the musk. I was a musician. I played I played a flute or recorder or something. I didn't really play it, but that was my prop. And there were a lot of people with the white gloves and the muskets, and they had to carry. And there was a trainer there. There was a guy who was a historian, knew the period, and he trained all of us on how to march and how to walk, and the people with the guns and how they left, right, how they carry the guns, how you hold the guns, how you do this. Because he was an expert. He actually, taught how they actually did it back then. So the actors had to get trained on how to act, on how to move, on how to carry the gun, how to position themselves. Yeah. And every once in a while, a horse would misbehave, and they'd have to, redo something. Then even the first day of production, we showed up at 7:30. We had breakfast, and they used to, before COVID, breakfast, all the food was all big buffets. Now they don't have buffets because of COVID, so they actually have the catering company serve you. You go up to the table and you tell them what you want, and they give you either a box like airline-style food or out of, they serve your plate, whatever. But there's no more buffets. The buffets were great, man. Anyway, but the food is still pretty good. But imagine this: we show up for breakfast 7:30 or so, and I showed up the first day. I want to get there early because breakfast actually started at 4:30 in the morning, even though my call time was 7:30. So I showed up at 6:30. I figured that'll give me, even though I'm not officially on the clock till 7:30, I'll show up at 6:30, get some food, blah blah blah, and I did. So 7:30, we're in this big kind of base camp thing under a huge tent, huge tent. And at tables and just hanging out and minding our business, chatting with some people you meet and stuff. So 7:30 goes by, 8:30 goes by, 9:30 goes by, 10:30 goes by, 11:30 goes by, 12 o'clock, time for lunch. Haven't done anything yet. Oh my
goodness!
Then they feed us lunch.
Oh. Wow!
Haven't done anything yet.
Wow.
Oh my God, there's people out there laying bricks, working, doing radio shows, working for a living, and there I am, do. Hey, we got a caller here from the great state of Hawaii. Let's get on the line. I think it is. Let's, without further ado. Hello. Who might this be?
From Hawaii. Yeah. Shit. For the
How
show
you been?
Here. Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
electrons.
This is Chet Gardner, who's a good friend of the show, and it's good to have you back on, and good to check in. And how's it going over there, man? How's everything doing in your end of the world there in Hawaii?
Well, we're actually, the announcement today by our governor is you can walk around without a mask.
Ooh.
Indoors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Which is sort of good news, bad news. I mean, we can walk around without a mask. I think the number is 65% have been vaccinated.
Wow.
Okay.
The bad news is the masks have been pretty darn creative. So there's been some really fun stuff going on. People here, they've used it as a fashion statement and an area of creativity rather than complaining about it as an infringement of their freedom.
Yeah. So. Wow. I thought you were going to say they've been using the masks like slingshots and creative things like that,
Some may have. I'm sure the kids have.
Yeah. Get some water balloons,
Come on, it's your turn to be Goliath. I'm tired of getting hit by that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. But is things good over there in Hawaii other than that?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm still inundated with a workload of migrating these websites that personally I didn't really sign on to do, but I got stuck with. And it's one of these typical one step forward, 3 step back for a while, and I don't know, I see light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm still convinced it's a non-rushing train. So, in fact, I'm late joining the show because I was on the phone with the guy who's doing most of the work.
Oh.
But I'm responsible.
That sounds a bit of a headache. Yeah.
I'm the one responsible. So.
I see.
But Hawaii is pretty good. It's we're into the rainy season, so it's a little bit of sun in the morning and then rain. I didn't get to see the eclipse last night because of the cloud cover.
Yeah, same here.
Totally
Chet.
covered over.
I was up. I stayed up through the wee hours to check it out, and there was a cloud cover. It's funny. Part of the sky was okay, and the part of the sky that was obscured was where the moon was, so I didn't get to see much.
Oh.
Yeah.
The only eclipse I got to see last night was when somebody bent over. It was unfortunate that I didn't get to see the moon.
NASA used to call that the moonshot. Yeah, but we were right in the center of it. It's like would have gotten the best look at it. I did see the one a couple of years ago, so we had a clear night that night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I heard it was a good one. It was quite impressive to see.
Yeah.
But usually here in the UK, you don't really see much of them.
I put it live on the BoobTube, or what do you call it there, YouTube thing. I saw some of it. Some people were broadcasting it live, and it was pretty cool looking.
Oh, that is
I got to
cool.
tell you something.
Probably see it
I've
in
got a friend who was he's graduating. I guess he's still an intern. Anyway, he works at JPL, the NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, which is responsible for the orchestration of all the activities on Mars right now with Curiosity, or what they call Mars 2020. And I've been absolutely, flabbergasted, excited, incredibly enthralled with what is going on in Mars right now, with a helicopter flying around and the rover driving around, and next thing you know, there's going to be a Costco up there, I hear. It's
well, and you've heard the helicopter weather reports. I mean, traffic reports from Mars, right?
Yeah, the traffic reports. Along the tender. I mean, it is really.
And the 505 is completely backed up here in Mars.
Yeah, I mean, you see this helicopter flying around, and they found well, not from the last one, from not just I forget what the last one was called, but they found evidence of water, and also know what they're doing now. They have a machine, a device, a small device, because they're doing it small scale right now, obviously, that's taking the CO2 environment and converting that into oxygen, into breathable oxygen, right there on the surface of the planet.
Wow.
So what will happen when we start sending, maybe Elon Musk starts sending hundreds of people up there at a time, and gives them all Teslas to drive around, right? They will live in these big domes where these gigantic machines will be taking the Mars atmosphere, converting it into oxygen, and blowing into these domes where people will be able to live and grow vegetation and have a life and have, dormitory-like facilities and science labs and things, and be able to have an existence on the planet Mars.
Yeah.
Why I still don't know.
And they're going to have to, because they won't have any here.
No.
Yeah.
And it'll be temperature controlled. That's right. And because right now the temperature at night on Mars goes into the negative hundreds of degrees freezing and gets quite hot during the day, way beyond our ability to survive.
Holy crap.
But it's amazing what they're doing. And they've also determined that there was water there at one time, and they're looking for microbiotic, microorganisms from way back, millions and millions of years ago, that would prove that there was some life on Mars at one time. And unbelievable. And when they're trying to, I was like, how I am about this stuff. I was like, but they were really, they found evidence of life, and and that's amazing to me, especially when you think about what they actually found. What life they actually found up there. And
I was born to do this.
Yeah.
There's life, Jim, but not as we know it.
They found old Trump speeches.
Yeah. Sure
Trump outtakes.
Well, this thing went all the way up to Mars.
Way up, then it went down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Trump's Dr. Ruth impression.
Yeah.
It is. Anybody know there's a tour going on right now? Even though there's supposed to be no entertainment in large gatherings still right now. California is opening up 100% June 15th right now. Restaurants are open 50% capacity. Lots of patio dining. No longer need to wear a mask outdoors. And nationally, if outdoors or indoors, if you're been vaccinated, but private businesses can do what they want. Most private businesses, you still can't go into that business unless it's a restaurant. Even then, only when you're eating. I got to tell you something. I mentioned this when I did my solo show to myself on Monday.
Okay.
Chad, I was talking earlier for her. I got booked to do an Amazon Prime commercial last week, which is kind of cool. It was the first time back on set in a year and a half. And so here's what happened. So we're wearing, and also I got 2 COVID tests, and I got paid good money for both of them. And also got paid to do a fitting in my Napoleon costume type thing, right? So it was, outside of the money I got for doing the commercial. So here's the cool thing. Well, I don't know, cool, interesting, whatever. You scratch your head type of thing. That there's a whole bunch of us, and we're crowded into a space, watching a guy on stage, in Napoleon gear and helmets and the whole 9 yards, right? We're shoulder to shoulder. We're shoulder to shoulder, no spaces front to back. So we're all crammed in. And action. No masks, no anything, right? Things are happening, we're all right next to each other. And cut. Then there's a third party there, a compliance company having nothing to do with the actual production, Amazon themselves or the producers. They are ordering us all to put our masks on, covering our nose and our mouth when we're not shooting. So we'll just spend 5 minutes together shooting the scene. The scene's over. Got to put your mask back on. What? And that carried out through 2 days or whatever. When you're shooting, you can be next to each other. You can be all over each other. You can be whatever. But when you're not shooting, you got to put your mask on. What the hell?
What's this? Where's the sense in that?
You know what? And we talked about it. The actors, we all talked about it, and we said, but a girl would come up there, put your mask on, please. Put your mask on, covering your nose and your mouth. And then a guy would come on if he saw too many people. You got to put your mask on. Everybody, put your mask on. I'm like, my God, and then we figured, okay, these folks, somebody needed employees to do this, to go around. I'm sure the same thing was being done in all the various productions that are happening all over LA and elsewhere. And they needed employees to go on sets to do this. Somebody applied for the job, and they got the job, and they're getting a paycheck, and that's what their job is. So they're doing their job. They're doing their job. Yeah. Their job is to make sure that but who at the top, at the helm, is orchestrating when actors are jammed into a space on a hot day, wearing all this garb and Napoleon helmets and the whole thing, shooting a scene right next to each other. Then the scene's over, and you got to put your mask on. Who orchestrated that rule? What? And when the compliance people weren't there, guess what? We didn't do it. We kept the masks off. I was telling you how we were planning and moving from one scene to another. That whole morning, the first whole morning doing that, we didn't wear any mask at all the whole time. The whole time.
Wow.
And the producers and directors were great about it. They said, okay, over here, we kept moving around all over the place. And they just moved us, okay, now here, boom, boom, boom. Then the compliance people come on set, and they saw what the producers and directors were doing, and they gave them hell and made us wear masks when the cameras were not on.
Wow.
Unreal.
Form over content.
Can you? I can't explain it. It's go figure. Go figure. Anyway, there was
that scene you're describing reminds me of that Woody Allen's everything you always wanted to know about sex, the sperm scene.
Oh, that's what it was like. Oh my God, that's what it was like. You're so right. That was great. I wish I'd thought about it at the time. I would have joked about that on set. That's great. That's great. That's exactly what it was like. Except we were all in Napoleon War soldier uniforms in a hot day.
Same idea.
In the middle of a field up in Ventura Farms.
It's almost like a sperm suit.
Yeah. Up in Ventura in the hills. It was really beautiful up there, but big farm, rolling hills, mountains in the background. And beautiful horses, and it was an incredible set. I must say. I mean, Jeff Bezos wrote a huge check for this commercial. That's all I can say. Huge.
Wow.
I mean, it must have cost $1 million. And that's not including the airtime for the commercial whenever it runs. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, Congress did. The senator from Washington State just stuck a little amendment in a bill that's going to give Jeff a $10 billion bonus.
What?
Yeah, did you hear about that?
No, do tell, please.
Well, Musk's SpaceX beat him out on a bid for going into space for some reason. I didn't get the details. And so Cantwell stuck an amendment into a bill, a must-pass bill, of course, that's going to reward Bezos' space company with a $10 billion backup contract. I mean, $10 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. to make up for Musk undercutting him by about $7 billion, I think. I think it's
so that's our
bid
tax
was
money.
$3.
That's what?
It's not our tax money. It's Congress's tax money.
God.
Yeah, that was a shocker yesterday. Find out that one.
There's a tour going on, and it ain't a music tour.
As if the $40 billion extra he made this year on COVID wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Unreal. There's a tour happening, and it ain't a music tour.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a tour with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Getz, the representative from Florida who's being investigated for sex with a minor, for sex trafficking, and
she's going to put on a Girl Scout outfit, right?
And go right. So let's so they're having rallies. They're having rallies, right? They're doing this together as a duo, like Simon and Garfunkel, except their song's a little different. Here's their song. Let's take a listen.
Okay.
Tell me, who is your president? That's my president too. Okay. Did anybody in here vote for Joe Biden? Do you guys really think he won?
Our elections must have integrity. We have never abandoned Trump, and he has never abandoned America. He is still fighting for us. He will continue to fight for us, and we're going to have his back when he does. So we support the brave patriots in Georgia and in Florida and all across this country that want to protect the integrity of the vote, and that is going to be a major part of this tour that Marjorie and I bring across the country, demanding voter integrity.
You guys both genuinely believe the election was stolen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's, if you believe that that's true, that is...
Isn't that horrible?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
that
it is.
Horrible.
Is it horrible that we would even be in the situation to even think that?
But it's false.
No, it is not. Why would they have all those ballots hidden under tables? Why did that man drive that truck all the way across state lines?
So it wasn't like the ballots under table thing with Giuliani in Georgia. That's all been proven to be false,
It has not. I watched it on TV.
I watched it on TV. It's not.
Oh, wow.
I saw it on TV.
Yeah,
I saw it on TV. I saw it on TV.
Yeah, that guy really did have that genie.
Yeah.
Doing all that stuff for him.
Yeah. Now, I've come to the conclusion that a small but significant and vocal portion of the population in the United States is stupid, ignorant, and just call it. Stop it there. Stupid and ignorant. This woman is a horrible depiction of an American citizen, I think. But they're out there. And because people actually believe that. What you heard first was Marjorie Taylor Greene, then we heard Getz, then we heard just some people who attended that rally saying, "Oh yeah, the election's been over. It's so far over. God, we're so far done." And now there's this audit going on in Arizona, where the head of the Arizona Republican Party is, Karen Pham is behind a recount where nobody's allowed, no media is allowed outside of OAN, which is a media company that's been promoting and still, propagating the lie that the election was stolen, that Biden is not the actual president of the United States. And the ballots in Arizona have already been counted at great expense and great time 3 times.
Right.
And so we'll talk about that, but let's see what's going on over there.
Good morning, Senator Phan. You may not recognize Arizona Senate President Karen Phan.
Let's get this thing done.
But she's the elusive leader behind the notorious so-called audit happening in Maricopa County, Arizona.
I don't know what's legit, what isn't legit, but why wouldn't we want to answer those questions?
Because you're questioning democracy.
No, I'm questioning the integrity of the election system.
Which is the backbone of democracy.
That's right. Which means we should have full 100% confidence in our democracy and in our election system.
But you're talking about trying to disprove conspiracies.
If I have to, yes. Why wouldn't we? If somebody says something is out there, I would love to be able to say, that's not true, guys.
Aren't you raising more questions by giving rise to these conspiracy theories?
No. I'm answering questions.
After declining a dozen requests from CNN to talk, we finally caught up with her in the Senate parking lot. Despite 2 previous audits in Maricopa County that found no widespread fraud, Phan says this 3rd review is needed. Over the last month, we've seen this little-known subcontractor the Republican-led Senate hired, Cyber Ninjas, use UV lights, hunting for non-existent watermarks on ballots, and high-tech cameras looking for foreign fibers and photocopied ballots. Here's why, says Phan.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Are you 100% confident that every vote that came in Arizona or any other state, or can you say emphatically 100% that no dead people voted, that ballots weren't filled out by other people, that the chain of custody from the minute people voted their ballots, that the chain of custody was accurate and on target the entire time? Can you tell me that?
I can say that what the data shows us is that there was no widespread fraud.
I didn't say there was fraud.
But you just said chain of custody.
Yeah, chain of custody.
Dead people. These things are all fraud.
Well, I have asked you a question. Can you honestly tell me, in all the states, that no ballots from people that are already deceased were not filled out and sent in?
I can tell you that what the data has shown overwhelmingly is that this was the most secure election in American history.
Okay, but you can't answer that question either, can you?
I'm answering it. I'm telling you that.
No, you're telling me what the data says. I asked.
And
you
the
were
data
asking me
is what we should be driven by. What the facts are may be the disconnect. Van defends the pro-Donald Trump media organization One America News Network, or OAN, as being the only outlet given extensive access to the review.
First of all, when we talk about transparency, from day one, the entire process has been live streaming, so anybody...
On OAN, with cameras controlled by OAN.
Are you saying that OAN is not a credible news source? Are you saying that? Okay, I'll remember that. CNN is saying that OAN is not a credible one.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
OAN personalities have fundraised for the Arizona audit, and a pro-Trump nonprofit claims it has raised $1.7 million for the audit. Fan says when the audit nears its end, the public will learn who is exactly paying for this. For now, she says taxpayers are covering the first $150,000.
Well, we are paying the $150,000. We are paying for some of the security, and we are paying for the cost of the Coliseum. Well, we're paying for our fair share. Anything over and above that is being covered by others. I do not know who they are, but I know from the get-go there was a lot of grassroots people. I have been told that there are people sending in $10, $50 checks, $100, because they want to see this audit done.
Fans' decision to continue with this audit is backed by the Republican majority in Arizona's Senate. It looks like they're chasing conspiracies.
Or debunking conspiracies. That's another thing.
And
you don't look at that. See, everybody wants to twist that word around. How about debunking conspiracy?
And how long do you believe that this process should go?
As long as it takes.
Do you believe this is helping democracy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Will you do this every election?
It will be a lesson in democracy that we answer people's questions, and I want the people, I don't care if you're in Arizona or any state across the nation, if we have those kind of doubts, we owe it to them to answer their questions. This will be the basis of a gold standard.
Donald Trump lost the election in November. He lost the election by over 8 million popular votes. His electoral win was, in his own words, a landslide victory for Joe Biden this time, because Joe Biden got the same number of electoral votes as he did in 2016, and he said at that time that he won by landslide. So therefore, we can use the same vocabulary and say Biden also won by landslide. Certainly a popular vote landslide.
That's the answer to what's-her-name's question. It's that, of course, there are a few people who died after they voted. Of course, maybe some votes were handwritten by someone's grandson, et cetera, et cetera. And even some fraudulent votes, but not 7 million of them.
No. And here's the thing, and we spoke about this before. Chet called in. Chet, question for you.
Yes.
Somebody walks up to you on the street, and they said, in the interest of time, I was going to say the top 10. Let's just say the top 3. If I came up to you, or anybody came up to you and said, excuse me, sir, can I have some more? No, excuse me, sir. I want some more. No,
your money or your life. I'm thinking.
And somebody came up to you and said, what are the top 3? The top 3 concerns, issues that you think are most important in facing our country and our society today? What would you say, the top 3?
Catastrophic global climate destabilization.
Mm-hmm.
The capitalism that causes it, and bloated war machines, and forever wars.
And how about you, Amanda?
Steal resources for the capitalist consumption, exploitation, and pollution machine.
And how about you, Amanda, there in the UK?
I would agree that climate is a huge deal, definitely. But I would say the the amount of conspiracy in politics right now. It's just causing major drama and confliction between its citizens. As for a third, I don't know. I mean, those two scream the loudest to me. I don't know. I'm blank on the third, Andy. I apologize.
Okay, so somebody asked me the same question. Go ahead and ask me the same question.
Andy, what are the top 3 issues that concern you today?
Number one, and I want to be very clear about this. Number 1, voter fraud. God damn it, we gotta fix voter fraud. It's a huge, overwhelming,
There's not nearly
issue.
enough of it.
It has been for decades. It's amazing. There's so much voter fraud. No election in our history has ever been an honest one because voter fraud is such a huge problem. Okay. Anyway, getting back to reality here. If you walked up to anybody on the street and you asked them what are the top 10 concerns or the top 10 issues, however you want to phrase that, facing America today, or the world in that matter, depending on where you are, voter fraud would never come up on your list. It wouldn't come up in your top 50. I don't think it would come up in your top 100 if you could think of 100.
Yeah.
Voter fraud, are there occasional one occurrence of this, an occasional one occurrence of that, and like somebody may have moved and done an address wrong, all these different little isolated one deal things here and there. The percent of voter fraud that has occurred in every election, whether it be local, regional, or national, has been 0.0000 whatever down there. Plop a number where you want to. Decimal point, then way zeros, then a number way down there somewhere. That's how small it's been. Now the question is to this woman, Karen Fan, if Trump won the election, would you be doing this?
Yeah.
And I want to thank CNN, by the way, for that clip that we played, because that was CNN's Kung Lao who caught Karen Fan in the parking lot. But maybe a stronger word would have been, as Karen Fan, is not the data, but rather say the evidence. There's 60 times they've tried to make a claim in every court, in every jurisdiction, and all the states that they've contested. They brought this question up, of course, the states that threw the election to Joe Biden. I still can't believe we're talking about this. I can't believe we're fucking talking about this. Anyway,
I just for informational purposes, I looked up the Heritage Foundation, right-wing think tank, in air quotes. They have a voter fraud database. And here you go. Recent voter fraud. Now remember, Biden won 7 million more votes than Trump.
Right. Yep.
Proven instances of voter fraud in the United States. 1,328. With 1,143 criminal convictions and 48 civil penalties, 99 diversion programs, 21 judicial findings, and 17 official findings. So that's where those 7 million votes came from, was those 1,328 proven instances of voter fraud.
Well,
the real
wake me up when
is
this is over.
Is that our votes actually have anything to do with how Congress legislates. That's the fraud.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. We have some, Manhattan. Let's take this to where this come from. It came from, about what month is this? In May. So 14 months ago, right around 14 months ago, Donald Trump saw the numbers that first of all made him the most unpopular president in our history. And the chances of him winning the election would be very, very, very slim to nil. He would have absolutely no chance of winning this election whatsoever. And this was put out 14 months ago. The election was in November, 5-6 months ago. So, 8 months ago now. My God. Anyway, so he no one else but he, no one else, just Trump, 14 months ago, said the only way the Democrats can win the election is if it's rigged and they're going to steal it, when he saw that he probably would not win it.
It sounded like you said the only way to get a tattoo in the election. I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah, so he stirred up all of this months.
Yeah.
And we talked. How many times did we talk about? I'm done with this. How many? We talked about this. You know, I could just go ahead and play recordings of old shows and have the same damn conversation. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's. I can't believe this is happening. But so here's what's happening. He started this. He did, and his disciples, believers, supported it, and you get enough people to nod their heads yes, you get to have agreement, and then the agreement becomes the truth, but the truth is not based in reality.
Yeah.
But they do agree with each other. So when you get enough people who agree with each other, that agreement becomes their truth. That becomes their real world. Yeah. But if the real world is based on a fallacy, on something that's a lie, on something that's not true, how much energy, how much time, how much space, how much of our being is just wasted, when that could be, that same energy could be used towards constructive things, solving the issues that Chet and Amanda were just talking about. You know, that's where energy needs to be put, not propagating, promoting a lie. Listen to that lady. I saw it on the TV. I saw it on the TV. Squeal like a pig. Squeal like a pig.
You know, I was going to tempt it, then I thought I better not. You know, preserving energy levels and all that.
Of course, if your goal is to maintain the status quo, nothing can be better but get one group talking about crazy stuff like that, and the other group talking about that other group.
Yeah.
And you got that Marjorie Taylor Greene who compared. Did you hear that wearing a mask is compared to the Holocaust? Yes.
Wow, yeah.
And it took 5 days for her Republican
If she didn't volunteer, they'd have to invent her.
Maybe she's a hologram. Maybe
she's from a pretty nutty place in Georgia, let me tell you.
Man, maybe she's a hologram. Maybe she's not real. Maybe the programmer, you know, I don't know. It took 5 days for them to come out and say, what you said about comparing mask wearing to the Holocaust was a naughty thing. That wasn't right for you to do. That's about all they did. And it took 5 days for them to do it. Unbelievable. Wow. Well, who was at the top of this whole thing? The guy himself, Mr. Donald Trump. Yay. Manhattan's top prosecutor, Cyrus Vance Jr., convened a grand jury to determine if Donald Trump and others in his organization will be indicted. And this isn't just any normal grand jury. This is a New York federal grand jury, and the rules of grand jury in New York are not like the same rules of a federal grand jury. This is a state of New York grand jury, and the what sets it apart in a federal grand jury, there's no judge, there's no defense. I object. There's no objections. There's no judge that can overrule a grand jury investigation. You can say whatever you want. And in the federal grand jury, you can even say, you know, I heard somebody say this, which is considered hearsay. It's not admissible in a court of law. Hearsay doesn't mean anything. Hey, I heard him say that. That can't convict anybody, because if it wasn't said directly to you, then it's hearsay. You don't really know what they said. So hearsay in a federal grand jury probe can be used to prove the prosecution's, the district attorney's, the U.S. attorney's case. In the state of New York, it can't be. So in New York, they have to be very, very specific. They have to actually have witnesses that go on the witness stand that say, I was there, I saw that conversation, it happened. I was a witness to it. They can't say I heard somebody say it, or I also saw, in a federal grand jury they could do that. And that would be good enough to get somebody indicted. Now, whether that indictment would carry through as a guilty verdict in court is another matter. But as far as the grand jury probe is concerned, hey, they throw it all out there. There's no defense. There's no defense in a grand jury hearing. And I guess what? I testified at a grand jury hearing a while ago. I did.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Wow. Wow. Incredible.
And thank you. Yeah. Yeah. All I had to say was this.
Tick-tock, tick-tock, TikTok, 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 TikTok.
They love me. They said, Andy, you're great.
And your dealer got indicted, huh?
Yeah. Oh, God.
I'll tell you guys, sorry, go on.
But that whole thing is a whole story unto its own, which I'll talk about in another show, but it was an interesting story. But anyway, yes, so I'll go. But anyway, so what's happening in New York now is a grand jury is being convened. They anticipate the panel will meet 3 times a week for as long as 6 months. Usually it goes a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. It doesn't have to go 6 months, but they're giving it 6 months. And you got this guy, Alan Weisselberg, every single penny that moved through the Trump organization went to Alan Weisselberg. Every penny.
Wow.
He is in deep trouble, as are his kids, right? And what normally happens, and what we've seen before, like Michael Cohen, like Stone, like Flynn, all these people who pleaded guilty or who convicted, everybody who surrounds themselves with the emperor who has no clothes, is, everybody needs lawyers or gets convicted or pleads guilty. And then, of course, when Trump was president, he pardons everybody. Hey, But anyway, so what is going to happen is, I think, I can't see how Trump right now is sleeping at night, because Weisselberg knows every single thing that happened about the $130,000 that was given to Cohen, that was given to the porn star to keep quiet, the $1.5 million that was given to the former Playboy bunny to keep quiet, the money, the IRS tax returns that were provided to the IRS to say how bad the company is doing and they shouldn't pay taxes, and then the other financial, which was given to banks to justify a gigantic financial investments for real estate development, saying how great they're doing and how solid their loan would be. It's a felony to falsify information when applying to a loan by an FDIC-insured organization, i.e. a bank. It's also a felony to lie to the IRS. So that is the basis. And you know something? Cyrus Vance Jr. would not be convening a grand jury if they didn't feel they didn't have enough to convict. If the gloves don't fit, you must not convict. If the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. Mm-hmm. That's what Trump's saying right now.
Wow.
Yes. So that's we'll see we'll follow that. Hey, when Trump lost the election, we were saying, what are we going to do on this? What are we going to do now? We had so much fun making all the audio clips and having fun with his talks and stuff. We were saying, oh my God, it's been a lot easier to breathe, I think, since Biden's been in office. Things are happening. Biden's got his hands tied right now by some Republicans that just will not budge an inch, much like Obama had to put up with when he was during his administration. But anyway, we knew that. Welcome to the swamp that Trump was supposedly going to drain in Washington. Yeah. But anyway, and also right now what's happening in Washington, of course, is that the Congress wants to establish a congressional investigative committee to determine what went on to cause the insurrection of January 6th. The Republicans are protesting that. They're saying they need 10 Republicans to go along with it for it to pass. If the 10 Republicans, any 10 Republicans do not go along with it, then there will be no congressional investigative committee. Why would the Republicans not want this? These folks were being attacked. If they had been visible, their lives may have been at stake. They wanted to hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. We all saw it. We all heard it, right? We saw guys fearing for their lives, barring the doors of Congress so these thugs couldn't get to them. But the same Republicans who came out right afterward and spoke against, Trump, forget it, I was all for you before, but forget it, you've gone too far. These same Republicans now are saying, they didn't do anything more than tourists would do. They were like tourists, they're taking pictures, going through the Capitol building. 5 people died.
Yeah.
5 people died.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people were carrying Trump flags. They were carrying Confederate Army flags. They were carrying spray cans of dangerous chemicals to spray to the officers. Oh, they're tourists. That's all they are. They're tourists. They're tourists. Tourists go through the Capitol every day with Trump flags, and Confederate flags, and cans of mace, and break windows, and steal things. Yeah, it's tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, if I were a Republican, I'd be saying, bring it on. Let's do this hearing, and let's explore who it was that left the place undefended.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be Mitch and Nancy.
It would, yes. And the thing is, it would make the Republicans look awfully bad if they determined that, they dive into Trump and his speeches and what, as you were just saying, what, they were given a heads up about something might happen, but I guess, you hear two sides of that. They didn't think it would be anywhere to the extent that it was. Well, I don't know. Who knows? But that's all we need to find out. We shouldn't be saying who knows. We shouldn't be saying that. Anyway, so stand by for what happens there. We don't know. We don't know what's. I doubt the Republicans are going to have 10 people that'll cross over. We saw what happened to Cheney, Liz Cheney, when she voted to convict. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
the ceasefire
that
between
can happen
Israel
to a truly horrible human being like Cheney.
Oh my God! It's getting back to that just for a second. Yeah, the person who took her place was a much more moderate voting record. Stickinik, what was her name? I forget. But anyway, she had a much more moderate voting record than Cheney.
I think Cheney was like 98% voted with Trump.
Yeah. And this woman who replaced her was more of a centered Republican, more of a moderate, right in the middle there, and until she started
more of a Joe Goebbels type than an Adolf Eichmann. Yeah.
and then she started appearing on stage and backing Trump and doing all this, everything he said she would support, and who knows. Moving on, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas appears to be holding after a brief war that, I guess, reverberated around the world with hundreds of people, being killed. And here's the interesting thing about that.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. Hamas puts rocket launchers in places where public gathers, in schools, places of worship,
which was disgusting.
Shopping.
Yeah.
Right. And they fire rockets into Israel. And we're not talking about fireworks. We're talking about destructive rockets meant to kill, maim, hurt, destroy into Israel. And these rocket launchers are placed where innocent civilians gather. Does Israel just sit there and say, "Oh, we can't take these rocket launchers out because we might kill innocent civilians. Why don't we just sit here and do nothing and let our own people be killed, let our own buildings be torn down? We can't retaliate. We can't stop it." So they went in and Israel is a incredibly powerful country, a very small, very minuscule country, but one of the most powerful militaries in the world. Yeah, with surgical precision. They are just incredible. And you don't mess. We saw what happened in the Six-Day War in the 60s, and we've seen it ever since. And what happens, you mess with Israel, when you put a rocket launcher in a school building or you put it in an open field, we're going to take it out. If you put it in a school building and there's innocent civilians there, then you know what? Then you caused the death of those civilians. We didn't. But we can't allow you to fire rockets into our country and kill people.
Yeah.
And remember this too: Israel has a significant population of Arabs, Saudi Arabian population series of people that live there that are not Jewish. They live in Syria. They live in Israel.
Of course. Yeah.
We all know that. So we're not just talking about the Jewish population.
The story now. The Arabs in Israel are pretty much second-class citizens.
Yeah.
Plus, it started when right-wing Israelis in Jerusalem started kicking Palestinians out of their home, and finally the Israeli authorities started firing rubber bullets and tear gas at demonstrators and worshipers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Yep.
Then Hamas said, you got 24 hours to stop doing that, or 12 hours to stop doing that, or we're going to lob some rockets. And Israel said, fine, lob your rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll use the Boeing guided missile, guided bombs, smart bombs.
We'll take them out.
Boeing, U.S. Boeing.
Yes.
U.S. taxpayer dollar paid for Boeing smart bombs.
Right.
Blow the shit out of you.
Yeah. And they had. So, and then they were saying, all along, and this whole time, right? And there's a ceasefire happening now, and hundreds of people
Lovely
died.
Picture of folks in Gaza with brooms cleaning up the damage this morning that I saw online. Very nice.
Wow.
Folks were saying for the longest time during this, which was a couple of weeks, but it seemed like forever, that Biden should come out and he'd be more vocal. If Trump came out and he resolved this and there was a ceasefire, of course he would have said, "I did this. No other administration in history could have done what I've done. Only I can do this. I know more than the generals do. I'm doing this. Is all I'm doing. This. No one else could. This is me. I'm responsible for the peace there." Where Biden is quiet, he doesn't have to get up behind a podium or do anything. He's reacted the way he always has. We don't see. I don't care to see anybody behind a podium pounding their chest. I want to see action. I want to see things happen and things be resolved.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll see what happens there. There is a. Hey, anybody? What happened to who was that real estate guy who made all these real estate deals? Who somehow became an international negotiator for the United States of America? What was his name? Jared Kushner.
Okay.
Someone became a representative. Yeah. From buying a huge lawn that becomes a golf course, suddenly becoming a negotiator for United States policy with countries around the world. I don't know, because you married into the family. Anyway, what happened to that peace? Something that he negotiated. What was that? I guess so much for that, eh? I don't know.
Well,
the capital of Israel.
But do you know why? Do you know why the capital of Israel was moved from Hong Kong to Jerusalem? I'm not Hong Kong. from
Tel Aviv.
Where? Thank you.
Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I'm looking at another news article here. From Tel Aviv to Jerusalem was because Sheldon Adelson wanted it so. That's the truth of the matter.
Wow.
Who was Sheldon Adelson? $36 billion. And I have a connection there, and I won't go into that. But anyway, yes. So
casino magnate.
You got it. Casino magnate.
Now deceased.
Yeah, recently passed away. Yeah. Recently passed away. Anyway, so
at the age of 117.
Unbelievable. His kids are pretty cool. His kids are.
No, I'm just.
He's 80. Yeah, he's 80. I've got a connection to the kids. That's how I know him. To his kids. But anyway,
okay.
Yes.
You owe him money?
$30 billion. No. Anyway, also what's interesting here, moving along here, is the world demographics are changing, pushing more towards deaths than births. So there are more people dying than there are being born, though in some countries populations grow, and in some countries are excluded from that. But in general,
yeah,
fertility rates are falling nearly everywhere as women have gained more access to education and contraception. That's what's happening. That's what they're linking it to. And as I've always said, every time I see a woman get a good job, I'm like, there goes another empty kitchen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Amanda?
Oh, Andy.
What?
Andy.
You know what I mean? I want to come home. I want to be handed the paper. I want to sit in my chair. I want to walk in the front door, say, "Hi, honey, I'm home." And I want a good dinner. You know what happened to those days? Give me my black and white TV.
Go buy a dog.
Yeah, the boss. Here's your dinner.
Even better, go to China, get one of those new robots they're working on, and then it will do it all for you.
And they'll do break.
There you go, girls. I spoke up for us.
Oh, no. It was a year ago yesterday that George Floyd went to buy a pack of cigarettes, went into a store, and he gave the clerk at the store a $20 bill that was thought to be Confederate, and the clerk called the cops. George Floyd walked outside, got into the car. He was taken out of his car and killed by the cops. That was 1 year ago yesterday. The world has not been the same since. And as much as his family is grieving, and his friends and loved one, of course, the significance and the difference that his death has made in the world.
Yes,
is indeed significant.
Yeah.
But that was a year ago yesterday. I can't believe time is going too fast. I don't know why. It seems like yesterday in so many ways. You know what I mean? We had lockdown for a year, but it just seems like every day that seemed like took forever to go by as a day. You look past and the whole time period since like George Floyd's death to now, and it was the injustice, the racial injustices and it continues to be now, was the premise for this program's initiation a month before Floyd was killed with Lloyd Booker back then. It was the Ebony and Ivory show, and it was two people who very like-minded socially and politically. One a black guy in the East Coast, and the other a white atheist Jew on the West Coast. Very politically, alike in terms of our thinking and our social issues, right on the same page. But the interesting thing was our perceptions and our skew and our way of looking at things from the angle of a black guy in his life and a white Jewish guy. Although we come to the same conclusions about life and about where we're at, the skew is obvious, and it kind of made an interesting platform. Of course, the show has evolved since then, and now we have the Amanda Show, and it's been great. And there's 300 and some episodes into it, and it's been just absolutely wonderful. But that was it was called the Ebony and Ivory Show back then, and that was the whole the foundation of the premise for the show ever happening in the first place. And then, of course, George Floyd was killed, and of course that gave us more steam and momentum to fire up that conversation, which got a little bit too fired up, if you know what I'm saying at times. Which anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway, but that was a year ago Tuesday, and where'd the time go? The number of deaths from the coronavirus is probably 2 to 3 times higher than the official data, and that is according to the World Health Organization. And a lot of those numbers come out of Brazil. And there's a lot of the attributing factors to those numbers are actually out of the country of Brazil, where the number of deaths was probably tremendously understated. But someday we'll actually figure out what this is. The numbers here in the United States are down, incredibly. We're looking at 25,000 cases a day, if that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, yeah.
Unbelievable. But it'd be interesting to see what those numbers. The unfortunate, horrific toll that this thing has had. And Chet, did you get vaccinated? I remember last time you were on the air, we talked about vaccines and so forth. Did you get vaccinated?
Yeah, I got on the internet on a Friday at the drugstore, and I got an appointment for the following Monday. So I went up and I bought cat food and kitty treats, and then sat in a plastic chair and got the Johnson & Johnson 1 and done shot.
Oh, nice.
At Target Superstore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then drove
I have
home.
to stand for my vaccine. You got a chair. Wow.
I got a nice chair there at Target, and I had to sit there because I'm old and crappy heart, so I had to sit there for 20 minutes and make sure I didn't collapse. And then they said, "Okay, you're done." They gave me this little cardboard thing with my vaccination thing on it, and said, "See you next pandemic."
Do you know Russia have started to vaccinate animals with a COVID vaccine? Yeah, they started doing that. Yeah, they've called the vaccination Carnivac-Cov, and the immunity is meant to last roughly about 6 months, and EU has been interested in it, Argentina, South Korea, Japan, and I believe another vaccine is being developed by the US, a veterinary pharmaceutical company, Zoetis, I think they're called. But they're saying that there's no evidence that animals play a significant role in the spreading of the virus, but that the infection has been found in various species worldwide, including dogs, cats, apes, and mink. And they apparently have been specially training sniffer dogs in Lebanon and they're learning to detect coronavirus, and a handful of trials have been taking place around the world apparently, and there is a very specific smell to the COVID-19 virus, and they've been training the dogs to go from cone to cone to find a positive sample, and if it's negative, the dog just carries on. And they're saying that with standard tests, accuracy is around 70%, but with a well-trained sniffer dog, the accuracy is between 98 to 100%. That's very cool.
That's
very, very cool.
Somehow I have this picture of them trying to vaccinate bats.
Yeah.
Where do you stick the needle? I mean, really.
I know,
kind of
right?
like sweaters for Shih Tzus.
Bats are so cute. They are so cute.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? I don't know if you heard about Boris Johnson being under fire at the moment from government and the press and everything. You know, when we were talking about Trump, it made me think, oh my goodness, about Boris Johnson, because it's been, you know, I said, going back, and I don't know if Chet, you're on any of the shows when I've said this, that the UK kind of saw Boris Johnson as a Trump, another Trump, a clone, going back when he first, you know, took over. And then things started to progress with coronavirus, and people were like, oh yeah, he's our savior, he's been doing all these wonderful things to help us, all these lockdowns and keeping people alive and stuff. But now, his former chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, has been revealing the inside things of what's been going on in government with Boris Johnson and how he's been handling the pandemic, claiming that Boris has been dealing with it in a somewhat selfish way since it first began, and doing what he wanted right from the start, not taking on advice given and being focused more on the economy rather than saving lives. And for anyone who's not aware, Dominic Cummings left number 10, which is where, you know, our Prime Minister resides. And his former position, he left because of breaking COVID rules. He travelled during lockdown back in spring 2020 with his family, leaving London because at the time it was said, just to protect the situation, that it was for childcare reasons, that he was in desperate need of help with that. But in fact, it was because his wife was receiving death threats. And to clear any issues over that time, he stepped down in his role. And so just recently he's come forward, well, today it's been all over the news that he's been sharing so much inside information about our government's handling over the pandemic here in the UK, such as claiming that the herd mentality, immunity, was the government's policy early in the pandemic. And I remember it being reported way back then, and I'm sure I've talked about this with you, Andy, when it happened, that our MPs were trying to convince government to focus on herd immunity at that time. And he claims that Boris Johnson initially said that the COVID was just a scary story and was just a new swine flu. And he was saying that the government failed and many people died who didn't need to die. And so there's a huge list of things that is currently being revealed. And as the news progresses through today, more and more things are being added to that list. So I guess it's going to be interesting in going over that and seeing exactly what has been said. But yeah, so there's a lot of pressure on Boris right now, and I think this is going to stir the pot with people on how they're going to view Boris and how he's dealt with it. But, you know, little things within that echoed Trump, because Trump was like, oh, you know, don't worry about the virus, don't take it seriously. And yet, you know, there's supposedly Boris saying, oh yeah, it's just another scary story, don't worry about it. And I'm just like, you know, and you know, I said to you the other week, Andy, about Boris saying about let the pile of bodies build up or something along those lines. That was said behind closed doors. So that's been revealed as well by Dominic. And, you know, Boris Johnson is denying saying it, but supposedly several people heard him say it. So he's going to be facing quite a battle at the moment with everything that's been said and done. So we shall see what happens to Boris. But it's interesting, isn't it, that, you know, he's being attacked over where the money has come from to do up his apartment and things like that. You know, and you got Trump on the other side of things being attacked and going through these trials for the naughty things he's been doing. And then there's, you know, these echoes of Boris doing things that Trump's been doing. So it's just like, okay, so is the clone really coming out now? Are we seeing the true side of Boris Johnson and all this information being revealed? Or is Dominic just, coming forward with this stuff in some sort of attempt to belittle him in some way or personal agenda? I don't know. I don't think he's got a reason for it, but he's saying our health secretary should have been fired as well because he lied to people. So it's going to go deep, and I'm really intrigued as to all this information that's coming out and what's truly been going on behind closed doors in our government. So I shall be sharing that with our beautiful audience, and we shall see. I'm intrigued.
As I am too.
Yeah.
Well, I always thought that Boris reminded me of Trump right from the beginning. So
yeah, I think
playing
he did
the same game. Him and Bolsonaro, and they were playing the same right-wing populist game. The latest today I read about is Trump and Newt are getting together. And,
oh my God! Yeah.
And they're going to be putting together the 2021 or 2022 version of Contract on America.
Oh, really?
So be ready for that. That should be interesting. And if Biden keeps reneging on campaign promises the way he is, it's highly likely that they'll grab the House at least.
I don't see that happening. And the reason why I don't see that happening is because the Republican Party is in incredible disarray. I mean, as a matter of fact, by the time 2022 rolls around, there might be two Republican parties. It's just in total disarray. And I think most Americans are behind what Biden wants to have happen. What he wants to have happen is not happen because of his own will. Things are being incredibly tied up by the Republicans right now. And when you look at how Americans would
Sinema, really.
Yeah. When you
the
look
Republicans don't have a vote if Manchin and Sinema vote to remove the filibuster. The Republicans are impotent.
Yeah, they are, but also, like, for example,
but they are getting ready. They are busy redistricting and gerrymandering, et cetera, to make the House even less likely for the Democrats to win.
Yeah,
same as 2010 all over again.
Yeah, my prediction, and we haven't been wrong yet. My prediction, as we predicted the presidential outcome, is that you're going to see a gain for Democrats both in the House and the Senate by the time 2022 rolls around, because you're going to see so much complete, arguments and battling between, they're still going to be talking about January 6th come the 2022 election.
Yeah.
And I predict now, and I'll have a number. I think by the end of 2021, I will have a number, and we'll see how my prediction comes true. I have an idea now, which I'm not going to reveal. But I'm going to have a number by the end of 2021 of how many seats we're going to pick up in the House and how many seats we're going to pick up in the Senate. Let's see how we do. I haven't been wrong yet. Not that I won't be wrong. You can't keep the streak going forever. But I do predict that we're going to see a very, very strong, very, very organized Democratic campaign for all the candidates, and you're going to see a Republican Party that continues to be in more disarray and more fighting. And also, I think what the Democrats are going to do is to continue to propagate and promote and not let anybody forget Donald Trump and January 6th and all the arguments and Gates and what's her name, Marjorie Taylor, or what's her name, Greene, and all these things, and the Lincoln Project, or even, the conservative Republicans, they continue to run these ads and PSAs that we've already run on the show. And the Republicans, and there's lest we not forget, and I think that's going to be the message come 2022. And you always have to be concerned, you always have to be on guard, because you never know. I mean, Donald Trump became president, and as I said before, it's not Donald Trump. I did business with the Trump Organization in 1983, 4, 5, and 6 when he was building the casino hotel in Atlantic City. I was a partner in an advertising and PR firm that did some of the brochures, the public relations, the graphic design work, and I can tell you all about his stiffing us and not paying all the invoices and why that happened, and we investigated what happened, and all the other graphic design firms and other contractors that are also stiff, whether they supply metal for construction, whether they supply architectural design, whether they supply catering, silverware, trim, paint, for the, and I'm just talking about the building of that one casino in Atlantic City. But you go through all the Trump properties, and you hear the same stories from all the contractors, mostly the mom and pop businesses. And I, we also did business with other casinos, and we also did, represented Pepsi and Burger King and Subaru, and had some clients that enabled us to make our payroll every 2 weeks. But I must say that the Trump business would come in. And here's, and this is, again, going back to 83 or 4, whatever it was, and you submit an invoice for $6,700, and for a little project or something. And or let's say you did this, and Amanda, you're a graphic designer. I'm going back before computers, when you walked into your graphic design, your art room, and all the designers were there with the great big art boards, and you cut rubies, and the erasers were moving, and the overlays, and the color separations, and the AM typesetting, and the machines where all the type would come out in the galleys, and the art department takes X-Acto knives and cuts. That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So we put together these, and you know what mechanical is, right, Amanda? So mechanical is something that you give to the printer, and that's what the printer makes their the equivalent of a mold to print from, really. That's the mechanical.
Yeah.
So, and being a graphic designer, Amanda, you get things signed off. You say, here's what it's going to actually look like. Here's the comps. Here's the artwork. Here are the actual mechanicals. Take it to Blue Line. You take it to Blue Line. That's the actual printer's proof of what this piece is going to look like. They got to sign that off too. Here's the Blue Line. We're spending $27,000 on printing this thing. You've got to sign. You've got to acknowledge this is what it's going to be. Yeah. We can't take it to the printer, who's an outside company, with your signature here authorizing this is exactly what you want. If you want to make any changes, you got to pay for them. You got to pay for the changes. But if it's good as is, boom. Well, sometimes they would make changes. Quite often people make changes. And that's okay. We have this new person. We added. We all thought about it. We loved it, but we decided we want to put that, or we think we should put that in bold. Let's put that in bold. We know you got to go back and redo that, but just put that line. Little things like that just happen as part of the process before an advertising piece or printed piece or brochure comes to fruition and gets printed and looks, but at every step of the way, the client signs off on every step of that process, because the client has to acknowledge that all these changes and all these things you're doing, we're glad to do them. We have the capability to do them. We'll make your time frame. But they're extra. You got to pay for all these changes. I can't just keep going on forever here and obligate my art department and all the people I pay, pay every week just to keep doing your changes every day and include it in the base price. Ain't going to happen, right? Yeah. So what happened with the Trump deals is you make these changes, and they sign off on the Blue Line. Then you give them the bill, let's say for the pre-print production, with the changes, and the changes could be thousands of dollars, and they were told that ahead of time. They signed off on those changes ahead of time, but they don't pay for them. So you give them a $6,700 invoice on a product that was going to cost $4,700 or $50, whatever, and it's missing that extra. Well, why? I had to pay my staff. I made my payroll. I paid my employees to do it. So you're not going to reimburse me for what I paid employees to do it. You're not going to pay us, and then they give you another $7,000 or $8,000 project the same day. Well, we're not going to pay you for that, but here's something else. And what came down from the top, and this came from the top. This came from Weisselberg. This came from Trump.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Sue Trump? Short them $1,000. They're going to sue Trump for $1,000. Give them another project. We'll short them on that too, or maybe we'll stiff them on that.
Yeah.
That is my experience as a mom and pop business doing business with the Trump organization in the 80s. And I made my payroll every 2 weeks. They didn't make me go out of business. Some people did not have the same fortune. And not only in that casino hotel, but moving further ahead, moving, way beyond me, way in huge. I'm talking 6,000 here, 7,000 here, 3,200, 10,000. My fees, whatever the printing fees they were. But we're talking businesses that built Trump organization for hundreds of thousands of dollars that got stiffed and went out of business because Trump didn't pay them, and they had to pay their employees and pay their contractors. That's who he is.
That's crazy.
That's who this man is. He was a fraud. He's a failed businessman. He's every single business he's ever started. He bankrupted, except the one that was handed to him by his father, which he said his father gave him a $1.4 million loan. It was $14 million and then some. The guy's a total failure. He's a fraud. He's a cheat. He's a liar. That's who he is. That's who Donald Trump is. And what is disappointing to this day is not the fact that he became president, but the population that had the wool pulled over their eyes that couldn't see through it.
Right.
I'm not a rocket scientist. I play guitar. You know, that's what I do. And I do the show and whatever. I show up on set and act and memorize lines as opposed to memorize and say them. That's what I do. I'm not this degreed philosopher, political historian, college you know, whatever guy. I play guitar. You know, I do. La 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 la. That's what I do, right? So why is it that I was able to, or people, or that a majority of America was able to see through this guy and didn't want him to be president? In 2016, it was over 3 million more people saw through this guy, and he was voted to be president.
Yeah.
That's what's disappointing to me. Not that Donald Trump is who he is. There's a lot of people, and I've met a lot of them in business who are like Donald Trump. There's a lot of them out there. A lot. All right? This guy was like that, and he ran for president, and people elected him to be president of the United States. And even if I didn't have that business experience with him, even if I didn't have it, you'd still be able to see right through. How could you? The guy's obviously a bullshitter. He's obviously a liar.
Yeah. But he knows how to win people over. He did it on TV, didn't he? I mean, that was a great starting point for him being on, you know, that show, and winning people's hearts that way. And then they're thinking, oh, great, this guy could be a president. That's freaking cool. And then the way he knows how to win people over by speaking a certain language, try and, excuse the term, brainwash people into his way of thinking and being, and, you know, knows how to press the right buttons, and that's how he won them over. You know, everything you said, I completely understand. And, you know, from your personal experience, you know, you've had the inside track there as to a glimpse of what he's really like. And there are many people out there who have experienced the same thing, and just unfortunate that it's not enough to convince people to say, well, look, this is what he's really like. Instead, you know, he's been the showman and he's won people over. And
they're reaching out for that savior, that magic bullet, that savior, that person is going to suddenly make their lives better. Disregard all that crap, you know.
Well, if you get deep into the numbers, though, remember he only won by what was it, 40,000 votes?
Yeah, 40.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right, Chet. Yeah, you're right.
In 3 states.
That's right.
And what he won were the boot voters.
That's right.
Those are the voters who voted Bush, Obama, and then they were confronted with Hillary, status quo Hillary, even more of a warmonger than Obama.
I almost forgot.
And Trump making noises like he was going to end regime change wars. He also made noises about those corporate plutocrats who are screwing the worker. He actually said stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he got just enough of really oppressed working class people to go from Obama to Trump, because the alternative was more of the same.
You know something interesting? You know, Trump was also a Democrat for most of his life. He only became Republican, you know, it wasn't long ago. And when
it was basically equal opportunity campaign briber. He would bribe whoever was in power.
So some of the things that he said as a business owner, and somebody who's written a whole lot of I've created jobs. I've done all that stuff. You know, and I've paid my taxes and you know, had my complaints. Many of them. But people who know me in business say I'm more conservative than most Republicans they know.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, right? So I was right with Trump for many of the things that he said. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
As a former business owner, as you know, starting a business from nothing with just off the sweat off my back and passion and commitment, and you know, bam, one client making cold calls to get clients, and another cold call, and built a business that did millions of dollars and employed a lot of people with no capital backing. I did that, and having done that, I did it several times actually. I did it in the yacht business, I did it in the advertising business, and having done it, I'm probably more conservative thinking when it comes to financial matters. I'm like, you know, as Ronald Reagan said, get the fuck out of my pocket. You know, let me do it. Let me, you know, we can make this work, okay? If you don't just keep stealing, let me create jobs. Let me grow my business. Why you keep every time I get ahead, you take half my money. How am I going to get anywhere if you keep taking half? If you keep taking my money, how do you want me to grow? Hey, you should start your own business. This is America. This is a land of opportunity. Hey, start your own. You can do this. Oh, Andy made some money. Let's look at his wallet. Whoa, grab it. Take it. Sorry, Andy. Oh, you got to eat McDonald's tonight. Sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry. Sorry. Your local tax, your this tax, your that tax, your every tax, your this tax, your this. Oh, anyway. Of
course, I'm looking at the $3 trillion a year wasted on the war machine and extra profits corporations in the sick care system.
Yeah. You know, what is it? Is it 400? Is it the Biden administration wants people who make, and that's after all your deductions, by the way, after all the deductions, who make over $400,000 a year to pay just a little bit more in tax to try to pay for some of the I didn't follow it directly. I haven't been following much. I got to be honest with you, since the election. But anyway,
what he promised was nobody who makes less than $450,000 gross income will see a tax increase. What he didn't tell you is that nobody who makes over $450,000 will see a tax increase either.
But I'm paying more. You know, the Trump tax cut. I'm paying more tax. You know, they eliminated the ability to write off your local state taxes from your tax.
Your mortgage. Right. I'm
I did the biggest tax cut in history. You know what I liked? I got to be honest with you. What I liked. George Bush, 43, when we had a recession happening then, and he gave everybody $1,600 checks. Everybody. He said, "It's your money. It's your money. We're going to give some back to you. We're going to help you out a little bit. We're going to. It's all your money. We're just going to give some back to you. It's your money, not our money. It's your money." And I there's a part of me, maybe also due to my financial position at the time, because I've been up and down. You know, there's been times in my life when I did very, very well, and there's been times in my life with kids where I didn't know my next meal was going to come from. I've been both. And I remember when Bush was okay, we're going to give you some of your money back. I'm like, George, you just bought a vote here. You bought my vote. Give me that $1,600, man. No, but not quite. But and then Trump says the biggest tax cut in history. Andy's paying more. Now I got deductions and all this kind of crap and everything. You know, I mean, I've got my own business and my music. You know, is obviously it's my own corporation. Blah blah blah. But I'm paying more. So what about the largest tax cut in history? What I got to talk to my accountant about that. I don't know.
On net, like the richest got such a huge decrease that on net.
Do you believe it?
It's the largest.
You remember, Chet? You might relate to this because I remember Ben and Jerry's, the folk and Newport Folk Festival and stuff. I remember in the late early '90s when I first starting my folk career and everything's all hug a tree. And there was a banner. I think it came out of Ben and Jerry's, but maybe they just picked it up and used it. Whereas imagine if we had to fund the military with a bake sale and we funded education, something like that. But the military,
I have the T-shirt.
Yeah, what's it? See,
imagine if schools had all the money they want, and the U.S. Air Force had to hold a bake sale to buy a bomber.
Imagine that.
Wow.
Yeah. Am I too idealistic? That's where I live.
And unfortunately, I do. And I get a lot of crap for it online, even from liberals. You know, they say, "Oh, you want your sparkly pony?" No, don't. Instead of spending $1.3 trillion a year on a war machine that can't win a war, I'd rather see it in a Department of Peace that can create global restorative justice.
Yes. The Department of Peace. Yes, Chet. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right on, man. Absolutely right on.
I agree. Absolutely, yeah.
Department of Peace. Who would ever imagine the Department of Peace?
Dennis Kucinich,
only Andy
got fired for it. They made his district disappear.
How about is the Air Force going to stay? Are we going to have the Star Trek thing happening? Is the Air Force staying, or is that going to go by the wayside? Are we keeping the Air Force?
The Space Force?
I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Yeah, the Space Force. I'm sorry.
Force?
The Space Force, yeah.
Space Force, yeah.
They should all go to Amsterdam, have some of that spacey cake.
Spacey.
Oh my God! Had that right, Amanda?
Here it's good. Absolutely.
You pop over to Amsterdam for spacey cake once in a while, don't you? And all that hash oil in it.
I've been to Amsterdam, and that was an experience.
Quite a place. Yeah.
Yeah.
we were actually found a room in a house where we were staying. It was a lot cheaper than any of the hotels. And the guy was a professional photographer. And among his clients were some of the ladies from the red light district. So he took us down and introduced us to a couple of his clients, and one of which was at the peep show. And it was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly is. It was
we
quite
got
an
stuck
eye-opener.
there for a week for some reason. We were only going to stay a couple of days, and for some reason we got stoned and looked at Van Gogh paintings and
that sounds cool.
Couldn't get out of there.
Yeah.
Nothing like spacey cake and then go look at Van Gogh.
Yeah, right. The
funniest thing
was beautiful.
We were at the Van Gogh Museum, and we're looking at the paintings and stoned out of our minds. And some woman lit up a cigarette in the lobby, and 3 or 4 guards immediately descended on her and said, "Put that thing out!" It was so wonderful.
I can just see it in my head. That's brilliant. Wow. But yeah, like going around the city and things, it's such a beautiful place, and like I said, the architecture's gorgeous, and all the cafes where you can just walk in and have a joint is just like, wow. Incredible.
Great city to walk in, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you get tired of walking, you grab one of the municipal bicycles and just bike.
Yeah. I know, so gorgeous. Go along the canal. Yeah. Okay.
That was so cool. They had a bunch of bicycles. They painted them, I think it was yellow, and they were for anybody to use. You just use the bike, go from here, go from there, drop the bike off, and then they had a problem. People were stealing the bicycles, and sometimes kids will just kick the crap out of them.
Oh, of course.
And in the United States, we know that what would happen, the city would pass draconian laws against harming the bicycles and put a bunch of people in jail and all that sort of thing, and kids in juvie. In Amsterdam, they bought some more bicycles.
Wow. Hats off to them. Hats off to them. The whole system, the way it works there, is fascinating as well. The way they deal with their trash over there, they take it out of their buildings and they put it in what looks like a trash can outside, and it goes underground, and that's where the trash collectors pick it up from. It's not actually on the streets at all, which is a way to keep the streets clean and everything. And I was so impressed when I found that out. I was just like, wow. That system should be in place for a lot of places, a lot of countries. I think that's such a great idea.
Is there recycling as well?
You know, I would imagine there is, considering how progressive they are as a country. But at that time when I visited, you know, recycling wasn't a big thing then. It certainly wasn't a big thing over here at that point. So, yeah, it'd be fascinating to know that. Sure, but is that a huge thing there, Andy?
Oh,
and
yeah.
in Hawaii?
Oh, yeah. Mandatory.
Yeah, it is.
The bad news is China is not taking it anymore. So,
apparently.
It's going to the landfill now, most of it.
Wow.
I got to tell you an interesting story about recycling. I worked on the Jimmy Carter campaign in the 70s for president, and was very active in that campaign in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
Wow.
And when it was over, and Carter won, we were all jumping up and down, all excited and all this stuff, when Carter became president at the time. And I was so into working for a cause. I mean, pouring it all in, 110%, just into it, so into it. And then it was over, I felt like my passion is still there, and my commitment to make a difference is still there. So the presidential campaign is over, but I'm not over. I want to keep doing this. What do we do? So I started an organization called and this is when recycling was first starting to come about. It was just like you'd hear about it, this is 1975 or right in there. So I started an organization called the Citizens for Recycling, and I recruited other people to join me. And we all chipped in some money. We established a nonprofit. We put some money in the bank. And I started a relationship with a company here in the U.S. called the Container Corporation of America. And I guess they're still around. They had a subdivision called Pioneer Paper. And what Pioneer Paper did is they put huge big bins, these great big blue bins, huge, like big semi-tractor trailer truck turned upside down so it's open at the top kind of, or something like that, right? Bins. That they would place in township lots and have people or townships bring their paper goods for recycling. And they would pay the township a lot of money in return for that. The townships actually made a lot of money by telling the citizens of that township to recycle. And it became a profit center for the township. And this is what Pioneer Paper was doing in some towns. So I said, wow, we should make that. Why don't we if we can make all this money from this huge corporation called Container Corporation of America and their subsidiary Pioneer Paper, we should have it mandatory where we not just send trash trucks out to collect all this paper and put it in landfills like Chet was saying and get however we dispose of it and pollute the environment and blah blah blah, but we should have them pick up, have people put in one bin all your recycled goods, your papers, your whatever, and your other trash can, all your other trash. So we got together with Pioneer Paper, with some folks there, and wrote a very extensive proposal, which another guy who I did this with, who's still a Facebook friend of mine, former police officer and friend back then, I haven't seen him in years, but he's a guy named Bob Fry. Bob, if you're listening down in Florida, hey. We went in front of we scheduled ourselves to give to be a speaker at the Lowell Marion. Lowell Marion's a township outside of Philadelphia, very mainline, very affluent area, and to present our proposal. And Bob got up, and I don't think he lasted more than 30 seconds before they made him sit down.
Oh, really?
Right. Now, here's the interesting thing. Fast forward to 1990s, right? Yeah. Recycling becomes mandatory. Stiff fines if you don't recycle. All the townships.
Wow.
The entire area. There's Andy with this idea back in the 70s. We should do this. Nah. In the 90s, it becomes mandatory. The idea that what we want to do in the 70s becomes mandatory. I mean, when you moved into a house, you were given this great big yellow recycling bin to put all your recycling stuff in, and they have two different trucks. Sometimes 2 different days, or sometimes the same day. 2 great big trash trucks. One's got the big recycling logo on it. The other's trash, and it's mandatory that you recycle. Interesting.
Wow. Yes, that is interesting, Andy. Wow. Huh. There was a lot of conspiracy about it all, though. I mean, especially here, I don't know about there, but, when recycling became a huge thing here, it was kind of like, okay, so the government's making money off us, cleaning out everything that we purchase, giving it to them to take away. So we're going to all this effort, doing all the work for them to make sure the product is clean. Because apparently if you got a little bit of food in the container or whatever it is that you're recycling, they won't recycle it. They just bin it. And, that surprised me. I thought, okay, so we're getting these products. It's our responsibility to make sure they're immaculately clean. We make the effort to put them out, ready to be collected. And, people were like, okay, so is this really helping the climate? And, our governments are making money off of this. So is it just a way for them to make more money and just keep people satisfied thinking they're doing something towards the climate change? And, there was a lot of that talk going on at the time, and it was a little crazy. And I'm sure there's people who still think and feel that way. As to how much it's helping, but and then where they all get shipped off to, and how much it is truly helping, and so
it's interesting.
It'd be a lot more effective if we just didn't create so much waste in the first time.
I agree with you completely, Chet. I mean, there's ways we can combat all of this problem, we don't have to recycle everything because we can create products that will help us out with that dramatically. Like the fact that
or
in
less
the US,
products.
Yes, less products. Yeah, I mean the fact that you go to a food store over there and you have a brown paper bag handed to you with your things in. Over here, it was all plastic bags, and it has been for many, many years. So we've been contributing to the craziness of plastics and things for so many years, and only now really starting to do anything serious about it, and that's so sad. And other countries are steaming ahead. I think either Sweden or Switzerland, one of those have always been very progressive in that sense. I think possibly Sweden, because they've always been great with climate and a lot of things to do with their citizens and work and politics and things like that. I admire them as a country for all that they try to achieve, and I think they're a great example for many countries in the way they're.
I wonder if all the Martians, like we were talking about in the earlier part of our show, if all the Martians are up there saying, "Uh-oh, here come the humans. Uh-oh."
Yeah. What are those people who got so much trash?
We're in trouble now.
We already got the litter from all of his other probes, and here comes another one with a helicopter. How long is that helicopter going to last? And who's going to recycle that helicopter?
Yeah. Look at all this space junk they've got floating out here,
And when we begin to populate
junk is
and
becoming
colonize
a real
the planet,
problem,
Yeah.
And we begin to colonize and mine the Martian, and set up mines and all that kind of, on Mars, which might probably be beyond our lifetime, but it's probably going to happen sometime.
Yeah.
Hey, Amazon is buying, barring any government intervention, Amazon's buying MGM for $8.5 billion. Guess why?
Yeah, I heard about that. Why is that?
The main thrust behind it is the James Bond logo and franchise.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
Why?
Because James Bond
they
is
want
like
to get in on the. They want to get in on the Netflix, Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Or they want to make Amazon Prime another Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're trailing Netflix, and by acquiring MD. Well, that's we used to have little corner drugstores, little corner shops, little corner places to go get an ice cream cone or whatever.
Blockbusters.
Blockbuster, and now Rite Aid. I have a local Rite Aid store down the street from me. They're selling ice cream in the Rite Aid stores now.
Wow.
Goodbye, Baskin Robbins. I don't know.
I remember the days of going to a store and renting out VHSs and DVDs. Oh, that was good, those days. Like, let's take a trip. Let's go choose a movie and then get home. Buy some snacks and get home and then watch a movie. That was so cool. I miss those days. Let's face it, it is convenient now. You just let there, like, oh, let's put a movie on. Sure, within minutes you got a movie. Don't get me wrong, that's fun, but it's making that special trip. It was exciting. Reading all the back of the covers and taking your time choosing the right movie for you. It's just, something special about it.
Shane from the back of the Studebaker.
Yeah.
I miss those. Screen in the drive-in.
Yeah. I miss those days. Yeah,
I do.
I remember drugstore soda fountains, my friend.
We still have one. We have one. Oh my God, we have one right down the street.
Back in Honolulu, back in the 50s, I hid out. My brother and I hid out from the Alex Ramos gang in one of those.
Wow.
Sitting at the soda fountain, get you a soda for 10 cents.
Do you know what I used to fantasize about as a kid? Is your American diners. It's just diners to you, right? But over here, it's American diner, right?
American diners.
American diners.
That's good.
So,
here we call them greasy spoons.
Oh, right, okay.
American diners.
American diners. So, we used to see them in movies and stuff, and I'd be like, wow, they're so cool. I wish we had them over here. And then it became a thing that we were starting to have more and more places like that. It's a kind of gimmick thing, but it paid off because more and more places are opening up like that. And they were so cool to me. I was just like, wow, we got to have that. And,
I remember on a bus trip through the South one time, the bus stopped for lunch, and we went into the little diner there, and sat down at the counter and ordered a hamburger, and the woman said, "You want grits with that?"
What's that?
And I went, what's a grit? I said, do I want grits with my burger?
Wow. It's 50 style ones I think really pop for me. You know, look at them and I think, oh, yeah, so cool. All the chrome and sometimes you get the red leather, and I think that just really looks so cool. I enjoy that.
They had a really cool one downtown Berkeley.
Oh yeah? Yeah.
It was a old-fashioned Naugahyde seats and the whole 9 yards. It was really fun. I don't remember the name of it. It's right next to the theater.
We have one now. It's still closed because of COVID, but with a big drugstore, and it's so cool. It's like walking back into the 50s. It's huge. And they have the big, all the little candies you go by and the bowls and all the different. And it's also a drugstore. But they have a great big counter and also some outside tables. And you go in there and get the milkshakes they make in the great big silver containers, and they pour it in the glass and give you this silver container. And it's in South Pasadena. It's called, I forget what it's called, but it is really, what a fun place to go. And you get a sundae or a malted or a shake, whatever, hot dog, like the old-fashioned, counter, the old-fashioned drugstore counter like you're talking about. So it still exists, at least in this town. There's one.
Wow.
There's one.
I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
The only difference is the malteds are $12.
Yeah, they're right. I think actually $7.95, which yeah. Back then, what were they?
Pretty
50
close.
cents. Yeah. Chet, who's been
Andy,
a good friend of the show, is a musician and a producer and a guitar player and bass player and songwriter and performer. That video that you did, I did this guitar. I was doing this guitar workshop sessions for Sam Ash Music at the time, I guess it was, and some students made a video of me doing this demonstration of this guitar riff and open tuning on this old Ovation guitar or something, and made a video and put the video out. And Chet got the video, and he opened up his own video and videoed himself playing bass to this guitar piece that I did. I think it was in 2015 or 14, and he sent it to me, and it's great. And Chet put it on YouTube, and in one day we have 750 or 715 viewers in a day.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, in one day. Boom. As soon as I put it out, boom. Yeah, that was really cool. I don't know how you did that, but it was very cool. Very, very cool.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to start planning our tour.
We're going to, things are opening up.
We know 750 houses we can play in.
At least. But isn't that cool? Because I thought we'd get 3,
That's really cool.
It is cool.
I
just
put up
did it
a lot
for
of
fun.
videos. Yeah.
And I just did it for fun. I looked at it and said, I want to see what happens if I put this thing up there. And I want to put this thing up, just see what happens. Boom. I'm like,
I wonder how many were from the UK.
I wonder.
Yeah. I don't know how all this works.
Thanks to the show.
Is there analytics or something you can try? I don't know. I have to look into that. Maybe there's a way to find out.
I think you can do the YouTube with Google Analytics and find out.
Yeah, it's
probably
something.
I know what it was. It was Amanda Love watching it 750 times. Bam, bam, bam,
Stop
bam.
it. Stop it. Fool me. Andy. Stop it. My cover's been blown.
Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate you being my only fan.
You're welcome.
No, but Chet added a bass part there, and that was really, it was good, Chet. I mean, really, you've got a knack for this stuff. It's pretty impressive, I must say. You really do.
It was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Chet has produced a lot of my music over the past couple of years, and every song I ever sent him, every track, he's like, same thing. It's a challenge. You got to learn how to keep a beat one of these days.
Some of them I have to spend about an hour to chart, because Andy never plays not even the verses or choruses the same way twice. It's really lovely. It's lovely, but definitely a challenge. I used to call it soloitis. It's these people I've played with over the years who mostly play solo. they really don't care too much about where the measure ends or anybody following them. It's good though. It's good. Keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. Well, you do a good job, man. It's good stuff. And that's it. Do you have a website? Do you have a website or anything? You have songs. You have a whole bunch of stuff that you've done, right?
I have
Where
a
can
real
somebody find
stale
that?
website. If you Google, it's chetgardner.com / let me give it correctly here. I think it's chetgardner.com, Chet, capital C, Chet2020.html. And I've been doing, I call it the COVID years. And I've got about 18 songs, I think, in the can. And originally the idea was to maybe even produce a CD or two, and then I checked to see, they're all cover songs, so I checked to see what the royalties would be and decided to give them away. So it's okay to give them away, I think.
Yeah.
You can give them away, you just can't charge money for the product.
That's right,
where, So it's, I've put up that web page just for friends and acquaintances, and I guess the world is my friend and acquaintance now.
There you go.
And they're
absolutely
welcome to check it out.
Welcome to
I'll just put the link on my main web page. I haven't even touched my web page in 2 years.
Yeah, if you got it, flaunt it, as they say. You're a great talent, real good songwriter, and you got one heck of a history behind you in the world of folk and acoustic music, and you should get it out there because you're certainly deserving of that. So we look forward to hearing more. Folks, we're going to wrap this up. Chet Gardner has been our guest, a good friend of the show, and thank you for calling in. And, folks, you could do, call in 515-605-9888. I'm hoping that you have seen evidence that we don't bite. And we have no idea what we're doing or what we're talking about, but we kind of have a fun time doing that. So that's what we do here on the Andy and Amanda Show. Amanda Love in the UK. I'm Andy Kimball here in the U.S. Cornell Butler is the guy who put this whole thing together and continues to prod painfully Amanda and myself to keep going.
Sort of like that device on Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
Stuff comes out of our mouth and eyes.
But this has been fun, and I want to thank most of the folks who we've learned at this point that listen to the show and download the show. Actually, download and listen to it. I don't know why, but hey, listen, I'm not going to stop you. You've already done it because you're listening to this on podcast right now, most likely.
Yeah.
And thank you for downloading and listening.
Squared.
Something. But iHeartRadio, Pandora, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Alexa, I can go on and on, iTunes Radio, all these things. We're everywhere. And I want to thank all of our distributors for putting up with this and carrying the show. And, of course, our live broadcast provider, which is Blog Talk Radio, we're on right now. Folks, if you want to tune in, download and call the show again. It's 515-605-9888. We look forward to your conversation, your ideas, thoughts, opinions. That's what we're doing this year for. We love to hear ourselves talk. I think. Maybe not. But anyway, we love your participation in the show as well. So keep that in mind as we move along. We're going to be back on Friday for our weekend roundup show where we get kind of crazy and zany and have a lot of fun.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't want to miss that show, and it's good to be back on this Wednesday. God, we've been away for a while, man. As we were saying earlier,
We have.
It's been a week. Yeah. It's been a week. We haven't been on since last Wednesday.
Whoa. I know, right? That's just, wow. Where does time go?
Well, I don't know, Chet, if you heard it, but I did a show on Monday morning, and the phantom power on the microphone wasn't on. So the only thing you would hear is the audio clips I played. Because Amanda was feeling... So So Amanda was feeling under the weather because of COVID. So I was talking. I was doing a very calm show. I was like very calm, trying to be like, more professional sounding. Leaving some space and talking and raising some questions. And then I play an audio.
That's your
clip.
audition reel.
Something. It probably could have been like if I was going to get a job in radio here in LA, that show would have been my reel. That's what I would use. But so I went to download.
Except for the part about the mic being dead.
Well, yeah, I went to go download the show. We after the show's over, it takes a while. We download it, put it into a DAW, we EQ it, maybe add some music and some effects occasionally, whatever. And that's how the podcast comes to be. So I'm downloading the show, and I, I'm listening to it. The intro music starts, and then silence, more silence, more silence, more silence, and then like, and then like,
Yeah.
And then, okay. More silence. More silence. More silence. More than this.
Nice and tight after you're inside of it.
More silence. More silence. More silence.
Just call it avant-garde, Andy.
Avant-garde radio. He goes on forever. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, come on, when is this going to be over?
And more silence.
The current world population is 7,868,419,353, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And I just heard a pin drop.
Then more silence, and then. In
a relationship, you have to make time for sex.
And more silence. Yeah. And I'm listening. There's got to be. I'm playing with the volumes, and I'm playing with the board, and I'm playing with the computer, and I'm playing all this stuff. Come on. Come on. And then you hear.
It will be a woman.
And then I realized. Then.
What is your porn fantasy, man?
Then more silence.
We're getting the entire 2-hour show in 5 minutes.
Oh well. Anyway, so that was Monday's show. So I was like I couldn't believe it. I sat there for an hour. It was an hour show, talking to myself the whole time. No one was listening. I was just on the mic, and there's got to be a way to monitor I can't hear me. I can hear you guys, but I can't hear me. I guess I got to figure that out because normally Amanda would be there texting me on WhatsApp, and we go back and forth during the show. Amanda would say, "Can't hear you, whatever," so I'd know there'd be a problem, and Amanda would kind of take over, and I'd kind of figure out what the problem is. And sometimes it happens on her end when she's not there, but at least we can identify. With just me doing it by myself, I didn't know I wasn't being heard. So I sat there for an hour and talked to myself. It was great show, terrific. It was great. I solved all the problems in the world.
I've been using the Zoom Live Track 8 mixer. Plugged into my telephone and a Rode K2 condenser microphone.
Hey, can you hear yourself?
Phantom powered. And yes, I can hear myself. I can hear you guys, and I can hear myself, and I can do this.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, here it is. Direct from Hawaii. Chet.
Hey. Man.
That's all.
Anyway. Yeah, so we're going to wrap up today's show. This has been a lot of fun, folks, and
turn me out tonight.
Anyway, so I guess Amanda, take it home, baby, take it home.
Okay, I will take it home. I'll take it home and wine and dine it, and then watch a movie together.
I love it. Oh man, I love it. Hey, we got to talk about us getting when things get better, and they're going to in the next few months. We're definitely going to meet.
Yes, that'll be so much fun, Andy. So much fun.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I know. I'm looking forward. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
We can all meet in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good.
I saw it on I saw it on TV.
I can drink all the liquor in Costa Rica. Ain't nobody's business but mine. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, boys. I will take us home.
Take it home.
Get in the car. Okay. So, on behalf of my wonderful co-host who was talking to himself on Monday, from California, Hollywood, myself, Amanda Love here in the UK, who was getting over a COVID vaccine, and our wonderful guest, who we always adore on our show, Chet Gardner, all the way from Hawaii. Thank you so much for joining us, darling, and thank you everybody for listening to another show. We hope you enjoyed, and please join us on Friday for another awesome time, and hopefully you will enjoy that one more. We'll see. But join us then, and take care.
Don't get the idea it was mere entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't get that. Yep. See you Friday, folks. Chet, thanks for joining us. Amanda, babes, talk to you. It's soon.
Yes.
Never enough, Amanda. Yes. Never enough. You know what I mean? Never enough.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Aloha. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.